Hello and welcome to Home Media Minefield presents Let's See What's Out There Live, a weekly live stream and podcast currently focused on Marvel's The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which is available to stream on Disney+. For today's episode, we are going to have a spoiler-filled conversation around Episode 1, New World Order, as well as other aspects of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So with the spoiler warning out of the way, welcome. My name is Keith Isles. I am a filmmaker, actor, YouTuber, and massive film and television fan. And as I said, if you're new to this, if you haven't seen us before, welcome. Please bear with us, get involved in the chat if you're out there watching. If you've got any comments or questions or anything that you want to put, we'd love to have you involved. The usual team, so Pete, Barbara and Ryan, they are all away on secret missions for Sword or whoever is in charge this week. So I have actually done my best Nick Fury impression. I donned an eye patch and everything, and I have assembled a new team of Avengers for today's episode. So without further ado, let's go and introduce them. So first up on my left, I have a filmmaker that always likes to give an opinion and is very true to his opinions, no matter how they go down. He is the mega geek himself, my good friend, Ian David Diaz.
Hello.
Welcome, Mega Geek.
How you doing? I'm all right. Ready to go about this this episode.
Good.
Yeah.
And I see that you're sporting the old fandom T-shirt there. Bit of Alien.
Bit of Nostromo. Yeah.
Wrong franchise.
I know. Sorry.
I got my Captain America shield at least.
You geek.
Well, there you go. Geek indeed. And talking of geeks, got a couple more to introduce to this. So I have another good friend of mine and a filmmaker and also a comic book fan, Clive Ashenden. Welcome, Clive.
Hello, good to be here.
There you go. And you're also sporting a different fandom T-shirt there, I see, Clive.
I am. I've got the full lockdown beard going on, so I thought as I'm looking a bit like Brian Blessed, I'd just, embrace it and go Flash Gordon.
Go full Flash. Absolutely. Yeah. And I see that I like the map there behind you. Is that for your secret worldwide missions as spy and espionage?
Well, if I told you that, Keith, they wouldn't be secret anymore.
Oh, we are on a live stream after all. Yes, on that internet thing. So it's everywhere. Right, yeah. And talking of Brian Blessed impressions, we also have another comic book fan, film fan, and screenwriter, our good friend Graham Williams. Welcome, Graham.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Hello, everybody.
There you go. And you've got the Marvel T-shirt, I see.
No. It's the cut price one. It's only RV. Couldn't afford the M and the L. Wait, it's really
there we are. Special. That's what it is.
So we're all branded. We're all branded in fandom, which is good. So what I thought I'd do is, again, this show, we normally have a little bit of a structure to this, but what I thought I'd do today is we just have a bit of a chat and things like Easter eggs and references, to the comic books and the MCU and anything else, plus the sort of behind the scenes production credits, that sort of thing, and any speculation and theories and stuff we might have. We'll just come out of the conversation and we'll try it that way. And obviously we might get people in the live stream, in the chat, actually get involved as well and ask us some questions. If not, everybody will be able to find this out there on YouTube as a vodcast after this. And this also goes out as a podcast on all of the usual podcasting apps as well. So we'll be all over the place. So if you find this and you like what we're doing, please consider smashing the thumbs up, giving us a like, maybe giving us a review if you're listening to us as a podcast. And, you know, you can still put comments down below afterwards, even if you're not in the live stream. So we encourage that, and thank you for being here. So to kick things off then, guys, so the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I was just wondering, where are you guys individually with these characters outside of, obviously we saw them introduced in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in the Captain America and the Avengers films, but outside of that, I just wondered, do you have any history with these characters? Clive, we'll start with you. What's your background on this stuff, if anything?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, I was really into comics. I still am, but less so now. Yeah, I particularly was reading Captain America in the sort of mid to late 80s into the 90s when Mark Gruenwald was writing his epic run, issues 307 to 443. You know, I don't think it's ever been matched by anyone. It's just an incredible kind of legacy there. Yeah, I mean, the one that always strikes me, I think I've still got it in my parents' loft somewhere, is the issue 332, which is the Captain America No More issue. So, folks, if you're watching this right now or you're listening, open up a sidebar, just go to images and just search Captain America 332 cover, and you'll get to see this beautiful piece of artwork by Mike Zeck and Klaus Janson. And it's just lovely. It's even got a weeping Abe Lincoln on there. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. But yeah, so that was a sort of run I was particularly into, and then I was also at the same time reading the Avengers and the West Coast Avengers. So you know, I enjoyed those West Coast Avengers references with all White Vision and so on in the recent series we've had, WandaVision. So yeah, so I was big into that, but then I sort of moved more into the like X-Men books and the mutant stuff as I got a bit older, because there's a bit more kind of meaty kind of subtext going on there, which sort of spoke to me, that sort of outsiders thing, so yeah. But I guess that's my history with it. I'm less familiar with the kind of later stuff where we get the Winter Soldier character introduced. So that I was aware of the storyline, but when I watched the movies, that was the first time I'd seen like an iteration of that character. So yeah.
Fair enough. And what about you, Ian? I know you're a Marvel guy, but are you? Is it just from the movie side of the things, or did you have any sort of history with these characters from the comics?
I never read the comics, Captain America comics, to tell you the truth. When I was young, I mean, my references from the movies and stuff. So I really don't know where this storyline from Falcon and Winter Soldier is going to go. I don't know anything about it, which is a good thing when you watch a TV show. You want to discover it as it goes along, that kind of thing. But no, I haven't. Clive seems to be on the case when it comes to the actual history of it. But I'm just like, just call me a normie. I'm a normie when it comes to this show, so I know nothing about it. So, but
I never call you a normie, Ian.
Well, but all I know is what I've learned from the movies, because I never used to read Falcon, although I've seen a load of the comics when I was growing up with, obviously the old design and stuff. And Captain America, I've only read a couple of comics of Captain America, but that's about my knowledge about Captain America and Falcon. Basically, I know Falcon used to have a real Falcon, didn't he? He used to have a bird, right?
Yeah, Red Wing was an actual Falcon. Yeah,
Falcon. Yeah, and now it's a little machine that he has on his back and stuff.
It sounds like R2D2. Yeah.
But the question I want to ask you guys, maybe you guys can answer this. That equipment that he wears, the wings and stuff like that, is it only exclusive to him? is that patented to his structure, his because the reason why I ask is because he wears this stuff and he becomes this superhero. Why isn't the army not giving other people the same equipment so they can have an army of? Is it only? Is this? Am I missing something here?
Well, I mean, I rewatched like Captain America: Winter Soldier in preparation, and because I thought about this question, and it was he makes a reference to, you know, that there was a squad of them, I think.
Yeah.
And he talks about his wingman Riley, who died. So I got the impression that it was like a prototype that they were testing, and that now there's only one left. That was
but surely they can multiply. They can re-engineer it, and
you think
but if you heard from I rewatched the episode earlier today, and there is reference to this suit now, guys. Stark Tech.
Oh, it is Stark Tech then. It is.
And
Red Wing is Stark Tech, isn't it? Because he got upgraded during Civil War, I think.
Right. Okay. Well, so in other words, what you guys are saying is that this is the only one in existence. The wings that he wears is the only one in existence.
The only one was the only Stark Tech enhanced one, I think.
So so anyone can use that and fly around like him, or is it only exclusive to his DNA? That's the question I'm asking.
Let's see, because we don't know what's going to happen in episodes 2 to 6, are we?
I thought that was in the comics, Clive. That's why I was asking.
It is in the comics.
All right.
Well, no, it's weird because obviously in the comics it's not really like a suit, is it? So it's slightly different. But you know, but there have been more than one person who has been Falcon in the comics.
Right. Yeah.
So
right.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, my read on it is that it's kind of like an Iron Man suit, you know, in the same way that Pepper can put an Iron Man suit on and do Iron Man things. Then someone else could, you know, with training could put
War
on
Machine.
The Falcon thing.
Rhodey with War Machine.
Yeah,
exactly like War Machine.
Yeah. Graham, how about you? I know you're really into the X-Men stuff and whatever, but what's your previous history like, or are you like Ian and I, you know, following this purely through the movies and this series?
Absolutely. It's all been so. Falcon and Winter Soldier, the two characters and their story arcs have been completely through MCU and have been big surprises. So even though I had read some Captain America previously and have done since as well, so I knew who Bucky Barnes was. He's very much like the Robin character to Batman, as he is to Captain America, the young sidekick, the jovial one, the one who cracks wise. But so when it came to Winter Soldier, the movie Captain America, then that was a huge surprise for me, and so that's what I'd hope with this series is I get the surprises now as well. Falcon the same. You know, from the wonderful scenes that we had there running, you know, with Steve Rogers and Sam Wilson meeting at the beginning, and on your left, and the running
on your left,
and all of that was all fresh and new to me. So I was coming into this knowing a lot more about you know, Iron Man, Spider-Man. You see, Spider-Man was my big love in Marvel comics.
Same here.
Still is. I don't think that'll ever change. So all the other characters and storylines would have been ancillary to that, or I'd have picked up on others. But when it comes to these two particular, and some of the others that we will probably pick up on again, it literally has been just through promos. I've really tried not to, even though it's very difficult to watch the trailers and promos and all the rest of it for this particular series, just to have that surprise, that exactly the same surprises as I've had with the introduction of others through the MCU, especially then coming into the Captain America storylines, which this obviously flows from. not including, of course, Endgame, etc. But yeah, so they were surprises and excellent surprises for different reasons as well. So I'm sure we'll chat about the two strands, the two characters that we saw in the first
ep.
and how that relates to previous movies. So in a nutshell, yeah, I'm with similar to Ian anyway, where I had not read these two guys, but loving what I've had of them and seen of them so far.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I'm the same. I've come at this very much from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but I think what they've done really well is they seem to have got the balance quite right between creating this world, this unique world within the MCU, but having enough of those comic book references and origins and some DNA and some iconography and whatever to keep the comic book fans happy as well. I mean, would you say that's fair comment, Clive, from your side?
In terms of the series, or
just in terms of the MCU in general and how they've how they've used obviously the source material, but they've kind of changed things and structured things and made it its own, but still with heavy reference and heavy lean on the comic books.
Well, I've watched every movie so far, so obviously they're doing a rubbish job. Terrible. But no, I broadly agree with that. I mean, what I like is that they haven't, as a whole, as a rule, kind of gone and taken a sort of specific comic storyline and just put it on the screen as is. They've sort of cherry picked bits of it. Sometimes as a comic fan, that's frustrating because you're like, that was my favorite story, and they've just sort of taken a bit of it and then they plonked it with something else. Sometimes that annoys me, but often it means that I get surprised where I wouldn't otherwise get surprised. Whereas you look at something like, I don't know, like X-Men, where they tried to do Dark Phoenix twice, really poorly both times. And you sort of think, well, maybe, for the second go round, basically they're doing a better job of it than Fox was doing with the X-Men. So,
well, I mean, if we talk about the episode itself, the way it started was the special effects in that scene was incredible. I mean, I'm pretty sure they didn't put the
a shirt where the steam coming up. That special effects, you mean?
No, but I'm pretty sure they didn't put that actor Anthony, what's his name, Mackie in the sky. They didn't chuck him out of the thing and right, go fly. But those effects, I mean, it reminds me of Moonraker. Remember James Bond's Moonraker when they had a close up of Roger Moore? It was obviously a back projection shot, but in this one they had a close up of Anthony Mackie, and he really looks like he's there. And it's just, the effects are amazing, aren't they? And I'm pretty sure none of it was real. I'm pretty sure those helicopters were all CGI. The rocks were CGI. And maybe some of the close-ups were real. But I mean, what a great start to an episode, right, guys?
Yeah,
really.
It definitely had that sort of movie quality to it, and it kind of almost felt like a sort of pre-credit sequence to a Bond film or a Mission Impossible movie or something like that. And obviously we've seen these sort of action sequences in the Marvel movies, but it is actually for something that's streaming and on the small screen, that was actually a very impressive opening sequence, and also as well as the shirt ironing.
It was good to see that guy back, the guy that took on Captain America in Winter Soldier. He was back, wasn't he? The Russian guy.
If it was him, so it definitely was the same character.
Yes, him. Same guy, same actor.
Batrock, isn't it?
Yeah,
George Batrock.
Yeah. He was good, and it's lucky he had those wings in it, because every time they shot at him, he just put his wings up. So it was lucky those wings,
wings.
He didn't need a shield after all. So there we go.
No,
it's a symbol, Clive. Symbol is the shield until they can get the wings to be symbols of freedom, flight, whatever. Yeah.
It It
But
is.
yeah,
It's a really cool design to the costumes, because when you look at the comics, he had the little white mask, then he had the bird on the hand, and he obviously
Yeah.
had the wings, and it just looked naff. But when you were a kid, you thought that was so cool. But now you look at him now, it's a really good design. It actually matches the actual actor himself, with the glasses, and the wings and the thing that flies. He just looks really cool with that
Yeah.
costume on, doesn't he? So.
Yeah, they've had to sort of straddle that line between, trying to sort of have some nods and references to the comic book imagery, but likewise sort of make it fit somewhat within the real world and have that sort of, scientific reality or whatever to it.
And just like Jaws, that survived the fall from the plane, the Russian guy survived the explosion from the helicopter, so we're probably going to see him again. Do you know what I mean?
so, yeah, and
So
his
there you
and his onesie flying squirrel
yeah.
sleeping bag as well. I want one of them already. I think the merch team should really start selling them now.
Yeah.
Disney stores everywhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Looks like a lot of fun.
I like the sort of deliberate echo as well, and it must be deliberate, surely. This sort of echoing Captain America's dropping from the plane in the beginning of Winter Soldier, and then you get, Sam doing it here, and this sort of like constantly drawing parallels between him and Cap, because it would seem that they're setting up this, at the beginning he doesn't feel like he's worthy to pick up the mantle of Captain America, and then they seem to be strong. It seems to be strongly pointing in a certain direction as to where it's going to go, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. And that's okay. I mean, maybe it takes a strange turn, but yeah, I'm okay if it goes that way.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm loving the fact that as well as the fantastical stuff and the Marvel stuff and the flying around and shooting and explosions and all of that stuff. We're also, because we've got more time to tell the story here than you typically get in the movies. I'm really liking the fact that they're dealing with the after effects of the blip as one thing, because obviously it was kind of a bit of a throwaway joke in Spider-Man Far From Home, wasn't it? And then of course they dealt with it to an extent in WandaVision. But I quite like the fact that they're looking at that, and then the other thing, obviously, dealing with the trauma for Bucky Barnes with the fact that he spent 40 years as an assassin, killing innocent people and whatever. So what are your thoughts on the sort of? Do you feel in this first episode as a setup, did they strike that balance quite well for you?
I thought so for the Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier side. Rewatching it again, they were just so well done, so maturely done as well. I think they didn't pull their punches there, and they did mock that. I know they tried to inject some humor in and some heart into Bucky's journey, especially with his relationship with Yori, the father of one of the guys he had killed. But so I thought that was brilliantly well done, beautifully directed, as well as a lot of very extreme close-ups on eyes when Bucky's having his counselling session. I thought that was really intimate, and you really were pulled right in there. On the Sam Wilson side, I thought, from the in the continuity from end of Endgame, with him talking to Steve on the bench, you have the voiceover there, and then all the rest, with after the nice speech he does have with at the Smithsonian there. After that, I wasn't 100% convinced, if I'm honest, on his story. That may bloom and it may come better. It was on its own, it was decent, but because we were having them intercut with the Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier stories as well, they naturally, for me personally, felt weaker, even though on their own they would have been stronger. You know, the relationships Sam was having and all the rest of it with his sister, etc. So that was my opinion. It's just that the two together. So striking a balance, absolutely yes. First episode, really, really well done. It's got me hooked. Yes, if you know me, I'll still get to the 4-episode rule. And judge a series by not just one, first episode. I'll strike it to that. But yeah, and I'm sure we can discuss more on what I'm saying about the comparison of the two, whether you feel that's fair or unfair. But yeah, again, Bucky Barnes, Winter Soldier, Strand, and then also again compared to the Sam Wilson. That second one was weaker, but I'm really glad also there was a third strand just working on what do they call them? The flag smashes. I completely misheard that on Friday night when I first watched the episode. When I heard bag smashers, I was like, what? Badass? That's not a badass name. What is that? I had to rewatch it and find out. Okay, it's flag smashers. Got it.
To tell you the truth, guys,
was I thought was good. Was better than anyway, so I'm intrigued there because there is some mystery. I'm wondering if hooded fella with the hair, whether those are the eyes of Daniel Brühl. I'm not sure. It again today, going, is that you, Dan? We'll see. Let's see what episode 2 and onwards will give us.
I tell you the truth, I was really disappointed with this episode. Totally disappointed. Okay. I thought it was too slow. I wasn't interested in Falcon's family at all. Didn't care. Went to the bank. So what? Winter Soldier's story arc was interesting, but not enough to actually make me think this episode was a good episode. There were some nice bits in there when we had Rhodey talking to the Falcon. And they go in the museum and they're walking around and they're talking and stuff like that. But quite frankly, I think this episode was a very weak episode. And I'm hoping that it gets better beyond this episode as we go along. But I'm kind of puzzled why they would have this episode as the first one, because it starts off really well with that action sequence and then it kind of slows down, and it slows down to snail's pace as far as I was concerned. But there you go. It's just me. That's just my opinion.
Continuity, Ian, and guys, it's getting that continuity from it. It's making sure that there isn't that complete leap of faith, or at least not, as Keith mentioned earlier on, dealing with the blip, and of course Bucky Barnes being, is he A-okay? After Endgame, is anything that was in his mind for whatever it was, 40 years, 70 years, all of that, has that just disappeared? No, I saw that what they were dealing with there, which is completely different to what I was expecting, especially after the first. So I agree.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, it's a TV show, right? And you've got a lot of competition. As a viewer, you've got a lot of competition, and it's really important that the first pilot is the one that will want you to move on. And I felt that this pilot, or this first episode, didn't. I'm going to watch it because I'm a fan of Marvel, and that's the only reason why. If I wasn't a fan of Marvel, I probably would have stopped here, because, as I said, I think they made the wrong decisions on this. They should have. It should have moved a lot more faster, this episode. But that, as I said, that's just my opinion. Don't kill me for it. I'm trying to be brutally honest here, because we can. Do you know what I mean?
Hey, that's how I introduced you, Ian, as a man who was always brutally honest about it. But no, this is what makes for good, interesting conversation anyway, because obviously, because we're dealing in a different medium and a different story structure than with a 2-hour movie. We've essentially got I think this is going to be 6 episodes, and of course this one, unlike WandaVision, was actually close to 50 minutes runtime, which obviously WandaVision was more around the 30 minutes. But when you look at what they did with that, for example, you had 2 sort of totally bonkers left field episodes before we really got anything that we sort of recognized from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And this one, you kind of started with that, having that, like you said, that kick-ass action scene. But you know, looking at what I think or what I feel that this is going to be about, and whether or not it's going to work, we'll see. But I quite like the fact that this seems to be set up to have themes about identity and race in there, in terms of, you know, the fact that Sam Wilson, you know, goes to try and get a loan, and, you know, post blip, you know, which what would that would have been about 2.5 billion people that disappeared and came back after 5 years. And you know, kind of the society and the economy and everything trying to deal with that. And it's kind of weird because of course we're watching this in hindsight. You know, we're watching this in what we've just been through in 2020. I know it's not quite the same, but it does sort of feel a slightly different resonance there because of that. And I think, like you were saying, Graham, you know, that you felt that the Bucky Barnes, you know, therapy stuff may have worked slightly better than the story with Sam Wilson. But yeah, I think it's important that we get both, and I thought it. Yeah, I think it could be. I feel like this is going to be about something rather than just a sort of spy action series, which it was kind of set up as. I don't know. What do you think, Clive?
I guess I'm closer to Ian's point of view on this. I think if I was to describe the first episode in one word, it would be safe. Yeah. It felt like a very safe, down the middle. You know, I mean, this was originally designed, right, to come out before WandaVision, but because of COVID stuff, it ended up becoming the second thing. So it's a bit unfair, really. But after WandaVision, which is kind of crazy pants and starts all over the place with all these really experimental things, you suddenly come into this sort of like, they're really holding your hand going, it's okay, this is like MCU, but it's just on TV. Look, it's okay. I sort of, you know, I come into this already liking and you know, invested in the character of Sam, you know, and liking the sort of banter there's been between him and Bucky. So, and been looking forward to seeing that. So obviously we don't get any of that in episode 1. They deliberately keep them in separate pods. Yeah. So, you know,
that's a mistake.
That's fine. And there's always a certain thing with like episode 1. Sometimes they can be a bit like, we need to set up the world, and you know, so they can't. And I feel like because it starts off with such a bang, then it does plod a little bit after that. I wasn't. I mean, I was invested in the kind of like, will they get their loan? And they throw some humor in there with the sort of taking the selfie with him, and then still kind of not giving him the loan. Yeah. And you know, there's stuff going on and all the blip stuff, and you know, it's nice to see Rhodey. That didn't get spoiled for me, so that was good. But yeah, it was. I mean, you know, I liked, you know, I like the end reveal was a nice hook, and I mean, I would have kept watching anyway, but I do wonder if, you know, if a viewer comes into this not really invested in the MCU, are they, you know, if they watch episode 1, would they just kind of shrug at the end of it?
I think they would.
Yeah. Can I just ask about and just chat about that ending, because while I've got a different opinion for the most part with Clive and Ian there, but the ending, you see, I distinctly remember it's Friday evening, me and my wife were watching this because, you know, we've been watching Wanda together on Friday. Really looking forward to an episode a week, and then I really did enjoy for the most part as I had what was happening. Okay, but then we get this big seriousness, and I think this is maybe more a nitpick than anything else. I'll be positive from now on, promise. But you then get this big seriousness. The sister comes in. Okay, Sam, turn the TV on. It's like, okay, this is the hook. So just trying to be on the hook there, and then you get this guy is being really emotional. The beardy guy. I can't remember if I can't really tell if he's Smithsonian or he's a politician. But anyway, important guy in a suit, and he introduce this Captain America. Well, actually, you've got Mark Gatiss as Captain America. Really, big ears and the floppy lip. So it's like, okay, that really wasn't. That was too strange for me. It was, if that wasn't at all consistent with the rest of the episode, because we'd had these interlocking stories and then this happened. So for me, that was not so much a hook, but the rest of the episode had got me to watch episode 2 anyway. So that's my take. It's just interesting to see, because that was, I had just that feeling of, oh, that's a bit strange, and it took me out, but it was the end of the episode anyway.
Sorry, go ahead, Keith.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I just want to reiterate that I personally think they've made the wrong choice here, story-wise, for episode 1. Okay, so when you watch the trailer, it's like Sam and Bucky, they're arguing. You think, okay, we're going to get this kind of arguing banter, but yet they love each other, yet they take on villains and stuff like that, and that's what I want to see. And in fact, majority of people I know that was excited about this show, that's what they wanted to see. But you can be too clever when it comes to TV shows, and I think this is the case here. They want to introduce the world slowly. They want to make Bucky more accessible because he's killed a lot of people. Now he's trying to get that away from his mind by trying to help people, blah, blah, blah. And it's all too slow. It's all too slow. The first episode should really have rocketed, and we should have came out there breathless and went, wow, I want the next episode. Just like WandaVision, the first episode, WandaVision, to me was strange, but it made me want to watch the next episode and want to know what's going on. And this didn't have it. It really did not have it. After it finished, when they introduced the guy from Up as Captain America, because he did look like the guy from Up, let's face it, with the mask on and everything. After that finished, I went, do you know what I mean? And I wasn't sure whether I wanted to watch anymore. Do you know what I mean? But with WandaVision, they got it right. The first episode was like, what the hell's going on? Then it ended, and you're like, I want to know what's going on, Right. But this one, I just think they took the wrong road to go down.
You feel that it's not very accessible to an audience that might not be familiar with these characters from the movie.
And everybody knows, if you're, when you, I say this as a filmmaker myself, you have the audience attention spans very short, so you have to try and capture them. You have to try and keep them there. Do you know what I mean? Because somebody, the younger generation be like watching it, and they'll be like on their phone, on their phone. That's how they watch stuff these days. But if you keep them engaged, if you keep it moving, I'm not saying every episode should be moving all the time. I'm just saying that for the first episode, you've got to show them something more. Show them what you're advertising, But they didn't. They played it kind of. They tried to be too clever, in my opinion, on this one. But then, as I said, I keep reiterating this. It's just my opinion. Doesn't mean that I'm right at all.
There's only 6 episodes as well.
I know. See, that's what makes it worse.
Yeah.
So. Saying we should do the 3-episode rule rather than the 4-episode rule.
Yeah.
Third of the way through, yeah. No, I mean, this episode was directed by Carrie Scogland, who had previously done like 50 Dead Men Walking and The Handmaid's Tale and whatever. And it was written by Malcolm Spellman, who's also the showrunner. And his previous work, he worked on that series. I don't know whether any of you saw it, called Empire.
Yeah,
he was kind of the main producer on that. And I think. I feel that where this is going, as well as these stories, in terms of speculation, I think there's gonna be stuff about the fact that obviously we've got, at the end of the episode we get another white Captain America, right?
Yeah.
Which is Wyatt Russell, actually, as Kurt Russell's son, who appeared just there. But now I know that Clive. I just know that Clive. You are familiar with that character.
He knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I know what happened in. I know what happened in the comics. So who knows where they'll go? And the thing with that character is he does evolve in the comics. He starts off maybe as one thing and then changes slightly. But yeah, I mean, I probably shouldn't say too much about what I've read because I don't want to spoil it for people. But I recognised him as this character that from that Mark Grunwald run. Yeah.
Okay, but do you think that this show? Do you think they've deliberately subverted the expectation from, at the end of Endgame, Avengers Endgame, when old Cap, and we said there'd be spoilers here, so anyone that's but old Cap turns up and gives the shield, to Sam. Do you think they're just subverting the fact that everybody assumed that Sam Wilson was going to be the next Captain America and he was going to be a black Captain America? Am I looking at anything social political there when I shouldn't be?
I don't think so. I didn't notice anything like that. But I mean, you thought he was going to be Captain America at the end of Endgame. And I was really surprised that he wanted to give away the shield and make sure it was in a museum and stuff like that. I was really surprised in the beginning because I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe they didn't want to give us what we want. See, this is the thing about new filmmakers these days. They never give us what we want. What happened to, fan satisfaction, for God's sakes? That's gone down the drain for some reason. They should give us what we want.
1976, right? We were more than happy with gritty realism and all those. And Sam Peckinpah, who did all the rough movies. We didn't need a space saga with all these spaceships running around and lasers and this guy who's got breathing problems, but he's dresses in black. But the old fella then with a beard. You didn't need all of that, No. This new guy came along and gave us it, and what happened to him?
As I said, it's I think it's weird. I mean, did we really need to see Sam's family for? It must be about 6 minutes in the show. I didn't care.
Didn't you see? I don't know. Maybe
because I need to know.
I'm kind of finding that. I'm thinking that's the more in some respects the more interesting stuff, because just because you've got a family and you basically get wiped out of existence for 5 years, and they mourn you as if you're gone and they don't think you're coming back, right? And then you suddenly come back after 5 years. Like he was saying that his nephews were babies when he left, and now they're 7 years old or whatever, right? Do you not think there's some really interesting storytelling to be had there in terms of how a family unit?
Because this is a superhero thing. Why would I be interested in Sam's family? I wouldn't know. Why would you spend 6 minutes of the pilot episode on Sam's family? Why would I care about Sam's family? I want to know what's happening with the Winter Soldier. I want to know what's happening with the missions. I want to know if he's going to be Captain America, right? And obviously you can't show all of that in the first episode, but what you can do is make people want to see the second episode. And this is not the way. Wait a minute, that's from another Marvel thing, isn't it? So, this is not the way. So it isn't the way. And, as I said, you may disagree with me. Even the bit where he goes out on the date, the Winter Soldier, and he's wearing his gloves. And she goes, "Why are you wearing your gloves? I've got bad circulation." What, you mean to say they couldn't graft the skin around his hand there to make it look real? Which they can do.
I thought he was just trying out Luke Skywalker. That's another thing.
I thought that was mirroring Captain America's struggle with being taken from one time period and being put into another time period. I thought there was a real chat, especially what we just had, his Dark Thoughts, and yes, he has a book. So did Steve in Winter Soldier, the movie, and he's writing down, all the songs. But with Bucky, it's actually people he wants to take revenge on, etc. Thought something nice that'll probably be carried on from episode 2 onwards. But I agree with you there. I think when I said earlier on about the weakest part of the story, it was, do we really need to see the family set Sam up? Because Sam, as with Clive, as Clive said earlier, I'm invested in Sam already. I get that he's a vet.
Yeah.
I get that he had then trouble sleeping, but he was actually, and all those that little banter about being a soldier that you did have with the counselor, for instance. And then you saw that he's not a superhero. He's a normal guy with amazing tech who's stepping up and trying to be the hero. Or maybe that's what they're trying to do, is actually he can't be a hero anymore because he's come back and everything is safe in the world, apart from this LAF or whatever they are. And then actually he needs to play the hero. So maybe that's what it is. They've got the family, and that's the only vulnerable, or that's the only kind of almost helpless group of individuals that he can latch onto to help and play the hero. Hence why he pushes his sister to go to the bank, and he goes with her as well. Maybe that's where they were coming from, the creators here, is to say he needs to be a hero. He's given the sword, the shield away.
The shield.
And actually, he's now a hero without a cause. I don't know. I'm just thinking.
No. You might be right. Sorry. Let somebody else speak. Sorry, did I interrupt someone?
Sorry, I was just going to say I didn't read it that way myself, Graham. I mean, I thought it was that they were trying to set up like to show how opposite these guys are. Like, one is the family man, he's got roots, he's got people, and the other one is the man at a time. He's a brooding loner. I was really thankful, actually, because I was worried that it was going to that the Bucky on his own stuff is going to be like tedious emo man, sits at home and listens to sort of like doomy music, and sort of broods, because he's very good at brooding, isn't he? But they lightened that stuff up, and it was actually funnier than I thought it would be, But I think that's what they were going for. But then what you got to look at is just where they put the emphasis in the actual story. And apart from like your big action set piece at the beginning, the big, dramatic set piece is they go to try and get the loan, and they put a lot of time into that scene.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
So that's clearly like, they think that's the dramatic heart of it. So if you're not taken by that, then you're going to have a hard time with this episode, I think.
It really, as I said, really to me, I mean, I know they're going somewhere with this, and I hope it's not what you said, because quite frankly, as I said, it's a superhero TV show, and I want to see superheroes. I don't want to see him going to the bank and all that. But that said, that's just me. And also, there's a lot of things that happened in this episode that I thought was daft. Like, for instance, can't remember the young guy's name that Sam was talking to in the beginning. In is it Iraq, where he was in Iraq and they had a drink together? Yeah. What's his name?
Torres, wasn't it?
Torres,
Torres. Right.
Torres.
So basically, he's after whoever he's after. This guy jumps out of a balcony and lands perfectly with 2 bags. He starts beating them, throwing people around and stuff. So the guy has a gun, and he points at him and he shouts at him, and he turns around. Why doesn't he shoot him in the leg? Why? You've seen what this guy can do. He's thrown people around. Why take the chance of having a conversation?
Because
he's
I think they set up as he's like the backroom tech guy, right? And then suddenly he's doing this undercover stuff he's not really been trained for, and he's lucky not to get killed, basically.
No, but logic will tell you to shoot him in the leg or shoot him first before you actually open your mouth, because you've just seen what he's done. I mean, I'm sorry, but logic You know, even if you guys had a gun and this guy was literally 10 times stronger, you would try to shoot him, right?
To be fair, he's supposed to be a soldier, isn't he?
Yeah, so, exactly. Yeah. But he didn't. It's just little things like that really bothers me about. Sometimes you see them in movies as well. They really bother me how they don't use logic to actually figure out a problem. Sorry, go ahead.
Graham, you're bursting.
Yeah, sorry.
Absolutely. Forget the fact that if I had a gun in my hand, I don't even know, guys. I think I'm just. But no. I'm actually all right with that, especially what said about the backroom. Oh, Keith, apologies. Backroom boy. Let's not read anything to that phrase. Right? But no, I think that's the point. Though he has the gun. There's a crowd around him, and you say about logic. No, logic is you don't shoot the fella, the bullet goes to kill somebody else, or you just don't take somebody down with that. No, there is a due process for a soldier, but it's not wartime. He's got a gun. He's saying stop. He's trying to alleviate the situation, not just shoot. He's a criminal.
That's not the point. The point is the guy's superhuman. Why would you take a chance? Anyone with logic will not take that chance.
I think taking it from oh dear, this fella is a bit strong. He's stolen something. I don't know. He might have been stealing the bloody duvets from them. Might have been a whole
probably.
The towels. Just cold. You're going to shoot somebody over 2 towels from a posh hotel? I don't know. I wouldn't take it that far to kill somebody.
No. Well, I'd say shoot in the leg.
You could argue actually it's a plot point and it shows strong man and crunching and all the gun and being super hard. Don't know if it's Daniel Brühl yet. But I'm sorry, I can't take a
well. As I said, it's just my opinion.
To murder.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying you should murder him. I'm just saying you should shoot him in the leg or something to make him stop. But why would you take the chance?
And get him to bleed out. So I'm just.
But why not? Because the guy's he's just killed 2 people. He threw someone against the wall. I'm pretty sure that guy's not going to get up after that. Do you know what I mean? He's killed 2 people. So, I mean, if you were SO19, you wouldn't take the chance if somebody killed somebody. You'd just kill him outright. You just make sure he doesn't damage any more people. But he didn't do that.
I think me and Torres are maybe cut from the same cloth. I think.
Maybe because he's on foreign soil, he feels he can't.
Maybe that's.
I was going to say, talking of cut from the same cloth, do we know if Torres is a character from the comics, or is that somebody created?
He is from the comics. Yeah.
Okay, so he's likely to have some significance, further along in this story. Yeah.
Well, there's other scenes in the thing that really pissed me off, like what's his name, Sam trying to repair the boat, and why waste your time on that as well? It seems like it was just fillers. There's like 2 minutes, less than a minute on that. He's trying to fiddle around, all leading up to looking at the photographs. Do you know what I mean? And stuff like that. And you could have just came in when he was looking at the photographs. Why have that scene where he's trying to fix the boat? It's like, just little things like that.
I could see what they were trying to do. It was all a bit heavy-handed. It's like they're trying to sort of, they're trying to sort of put him like right at his lowest ebb, and then have this reveal of the new Captain America, right? So he fails at getting the loan that's going to help his sister and keep the family boat, which means so much to him.
Yeah,
and then. And then he has this confrontation with his sister. Doesn't go well. Then he goes back to the boat, tries to fix it, fails at that. Looks at it, picks. So he's feeling really crappy. Then he gets his call out.
Yeah.
Then he gets the call out of the blue from Torres, and it's sort of that's bad news. And then he gets interrupted by, his sister saying you've got to watch this, all serious. And then it's like, suddenly there's this new cheeseball Captain America.
Cheeseball.
Yeah, I mean, I do think to a certain extent they are trying to sort of make use of the fact that because of this medium and because of the storytelling time that they have, they're trying not to just make it like an MCU. I mean, I'm sure we'll get loads of action and fighting and Marvel stuff, down the line, but I do think they are trying to tell a story here, and they are trying to say something about the effect that what Thanos did, the effect that's going to have.
But couldn't they have done that further down the line though? Couldn't they have done that like episode 3? Because as I said, episode 1 is so important to capturing the audience of today. And as I said, I think that was the wrong move in my opinion. But hey, as I said, it's just my opinion.
No, it's all valid. Let's just talk about the ending then, whilst we're there. So, did anybody else notice this, or did I miss-see this? I've only watched it the once, but the new Captain America, did he have a gun?
Yes, he does.
Captain America had a gun.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, but he does have
World War II. Yes.
Yeah.
No.
He has
a gun. He has a gun. Yeah.
Yeah, he has a gun. He has a gun. No. Captain. Well, in the actual episode itself, he has a gun on his right side. You can see it clearly.
Yeah. But sorry, I just wonder because I don't really. I mean, okay, I know we see him with his commandos and whatever during those World War II bits where he's got guns and he's on his motorbike and all of that stuff. But I didn't think that Steve Rogers, Captain America, in the sort of present day stuff, carried a gun. But
he didn't.
Got that wrong?
No, he didn't. He didn't carry a gun.
I don't know whether there's any significance to that. It was just something that stood out to me, and I thought, oh, he's got a gun.
There may be some significance.
Okay. So fair enough.
I mean, do you think, Keith, that there is some that they deliberately made the next Captain America white? So you reckon that's what they're doing?
Wondering, well, the thing is, I'm just wondering whether delving into the Sam Wilson character and the fact that he and Rhodey are there in the museum in the Smithsonian, and he says that how can he step into those shoes of Steve Rogers, and it should be in a museum. And I just think I really do. I think that there is something there about whether or not he as a character feels worthy to carry that mantle. And I personally think the things like getting rejected the bank loan, for example, are all sort of thematically things that are going to feed into that as to whether he can't just cash in on the fact that he's been a superhero and he's been a member of the Avengers. The world still comes with various prejudices and societal things, and I just wonder whether it's somehow related to what his character journey is going to be. But I might be reading way too much.
No, I think you're right. I literally think you're right about that. But my point is they could have told it in a different way, a faster way. As me and Keith have been, I've been a lot of live streams and I've studied a lot of 70s movies. The thing about 70s movies is they always have these these things that they actually construct the script so that it tells information more so than dialogue, whatever. And I was hoping they would do this with this, but they stretched it out, didn't they? Stretched out the boat scene, they stretched out this just to make that point. I'm pretty sure there was a faster way of making that point. And I know that's exactly what they're doing, because right at the ending, when they introduced new Captain America, there's that shot of the Falcon sort of sighing, bending his head. He realized that he should have taken up the mantle. Now it's too late. That's what that scene was actually saying. And so I know that's what they're saying, but I have a problem with the way they presented it, the way they wrote it, if you know what I mean. So they could have done that, but in a different way or faster way. But anyway, whatever. Okay.
I mean, Clive and Graham, you guys are both writers as well. I mean, what are your thoughts to what Ian's just proposed there?
I mean, I think there are definitely different ways you could have done it. It's
sure.
I think some of this is that sort of people come into it seems with more of a TV series mindset, and like having those long dialogue scenes, that's what you would expect kind of thing. But then you have like the big MCU action sequences as well, and I think that sort of putting them next to each other actually makes the dialogue scenes feel slower than they would do if it was all like that. If it had all been, we just see Sam handing over. If we didn't see Sam like do the action stuff, if we didn't see, you know, like Bucky like flashing back to when he in his nightmare, right? If we cut those bits out and you put, then I think the rest of it wouldn't feel quite as slow, because you wouldn't have that contrast. I do feel though, I rather wish they did it more like something like the beginning of have you all seen Punisher, the series? Like Punisher season 2, it starts off and you start off in the middle of the action and everything's clearly gone to hell, and there's blood and you know, it's driving fast and you're like, what the hell's going on here? And then they set up this thing and they're in a bad situation, and then they flash back and then you see how they got there. So I almost kind of wish that it starts off with Bucky, with, you know, Winter Soldier and Falcon together, like in a bad situation, like on a mission, and then it's like, well, how did these two get back together? And then we find that out, you know, and so I missed not having them together. I was hoping by the end of the episode that they would get back together. All we get is that sort of the you know, the therapist lady who I like that actress. She's in Bosch, isn't she?
Yeah, she is. Yeah.
And you know, sort of saying, you know, so I see, you know, you haven't returned any of Sam's texts, you know, so obviously he's been trying to sort of extend the hand, and you know, Bucky's been doing this sort of
metal hand.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you think they're deliberately trying to sort of tease us and hopefully draw us into more by not putting them together just yet?
I think so. Maybe they think that this will appeal more to like a non like MCU hardcore audience if you establish like who these characters are on their own, and then you put them together. You know, you say, look, they're opposites. They're in these different places. You know, one comes from this sort of like, you know, background of being this assassin, and now he's trying to do right, and the other one is this, you know, hero who's friend of, you know, who's from the military, and now he's having money problems. I can see what they're trying to do. It's just, is it that exciting?
I agree.
What do you think, Graham? What's your view on that?
Listen to Clive there. I think it would have been a more on your Punisher styled plotting anyway.
Flashback.
Yeah, I think that would have made it a more of an exciting episode anyway, and it may have got a bit too messy doing it that way. But hey, you know, we could workshop it. Have a separate so where we do that.
Yeah.
No, I think.
I mean, I'm not talking about flashing backwards and forwards. It's just like you start at the end, and then you go back once. You know, so
I get it. You make the action relevant to the story rather than just the character, which they did with Sam there right at the beginning and introducing Torres as well. But no, there's a point though with the fact that you're introducing these two characters, and you know, from episode 2, maybe even going into 3, they almost have to earn their buddying up rather than, here you go, here's a couple of guys who've been through all this trauma and got Steve Rogers as the magnet or the glue that would hold them together. Actually, they would be off separate, and now let's earn their right to be friends, and you know, a catalyst may be different because the catalyst that would bring them together is no longer around. He may be on the moon, as they say.
Yes,
But
Nick Fury reference.
But again, going back to Sam's story, in my opinion, being the weaker, didn't quite mesh, and it may do in the second episode where we haven't seen Bucky's reaction to this new Mark Gatiss styled Captain America. And I just checked out the episode. I just didn't notice the gun at all. Just watched it twice. Didn't notice the gun.
Gun's there.
Something a bit darker there that may help.
Yeah.
Bring Bucky together with Sam. But yeah, maybe it is that. It is that they're trying to just establish backstory, and they haven't done it as exciting, or even, it hasn't really involved us emotionally enough yet to do that. And you've got a 6-episode series, or you never know, they may actually have so much confidence in what they're going to do from season 2 onwards. I hate to think that, but that's maybe what it is that they can see this going to a 5-6 season series after all. So therefore, they're happy to take it a bit slower and have a bit more of the James Bond or the buddy spy, global spy thriller. I'm okay with starting off like this, but I do actually love Clive's throw them into the action. Let's see where we go. I would hook into that. But it's too late. It's too late.
Yeah, interestingly, Carrie Scogland, who directed this pilot, she had actually directed a few of the Punisher series previously.
Oh.
So but,
you could see the script meeting. You can see them; they're all around a table, and one person wants to eject in a bit of today's life in there, about black people, about how thing is struggling, and then one person goes, what about Born Identity? he was sorry he killed loads of people, let's do that with Winter Soldier. And they're like, yeah, that's a great idea, let's do that. And then they went off in that tandem, and then when they say, oh yeah, we got to make sure that he regrets taking up the shield, and you can just imagine what they were saying in the script meeting with them, stuff like that. But as far as I'm concerned, they didn't construct it very well. As I keep saying, the Falcon story was stretched out too long and too thin, and getting to the point of Falcon being upset that he didn't take up the mantle took too long. Took a whole episode. Towards the ending. I just thought that the approach is wrong, in my opinion. But as I said, I'll reiterate this. It's just my opinion.
Yeah. No, that's good. So. One of the things I do want to ask about as well, because you guys might have some insights into this. Obviously, they always litter these things with Easter eggs and references and all of this sort of stuff. And I always find that the end credits that they do, because they obviously did this with WandaVision, there was some sort of clues in there, and I noticed they did this typical sort of espionage spy thriller type font where you have certain information redacted and all of this on documents. But I noticed that there was one shot that had the actor Carl Lumley in there with part of his face shown, and apparently he is going to feature at some point in this. Do you guys know anything about? I mean, I've not read because I don't want it to spoil anything, but have you guys got any theories? Thoughts?
Well, I mean, there's characters in the end credits who didn't appear in this one, that have been trailed, talked about, so I don't think it's a spoiler to say, like Sharon Carter appears, in those end credits, as Daniel Brawler Zemo, so
they're coming. But
I don't, and Graham, I don't think it was Zemo, that guy, the Leaper guy. I
think maybe it is. I was trying to. I funnily enough, I was watching on my laptop earlier for the second time, and I didn't know how to zoom properly, so I just stuck my face right up against it and see if it was Daniel Bruhl, and I had IMDb open as well. So you could be right. I'm just saying, is it? My hypothesis, because I don't know where that intriguing, mysterious character and is going, or what. My thoughts that it would have been an underdog of Zemo, because Zemo is military genius and all the rest of it, and a big villain as well. But
So has this worked well enough to keep you guys intrigued enough to stay watching, or, are you kind of like, meh?
Well, as I said, the first episode I think is a complete misfire apart from the beginning, in my opinion. I will watch the second episode because I love the Marvel universe and I'm hoping that it's going to get better. And that's just my take on it. I'm sure a lot of people enjoyed this episode. Pretty sure.
Okay.
I'm definitely going to commit to watching more. We'll see. It's because it's me and my wife watching it together as well, and we don't have lengthy discussions afterwards. So we do say, and she enjoyed it more than I think she appreciated the Sam Wilson drama and that storyline a bit more. So definitely going to commit, even though at this time and place we are in March, and me being a rugby fan, there will be a rugby match on Friday night. So Falcon and Winter Soldier will be relegated to after that match.
Wow.
Wow. Of Wales winning the Six Nations Championship 2021. But yes, there was enough there for us to continue after the excitement of and the adrenaline rush of a rugby match on a Friday night to then get into episode 2. So I will be doing that, and I'll see how we get on in the weeks afterwards.
Fair enough. And Clive, you've probably got more insight than any of us here as to where this potentially could be going. Did that end shot, get you excited enough to be looking forward to next Friday?
Yeah, it did whet my appetite in that respect. Because I'm like, oh, okay, if they're going where I think they're going with that character, then that's great. This other stuff, I'm not quite sure how they're going to weave it all together. I guess sometimes the worry is if they have too many kind of bad sort of antagonist characters, then it can end up a bit muddy and a bit confused. But if it's well done, then that's good. I want to say though that my good lady wife watched, was quite happy to watch the first 2 episodes of WandaVision with me. After that, she was like, "It's not really my thing. I feel like I'm, I don't know. I'm not into the MCU enough for this." I'm like, but you can see, that there's stuff coming. And she's like, "No, it's fine." So I mean, I watched all of it, but then she tapped out of this one after about 2 minutes. It was quite funny. She was like, I'm going to go in the other room now. It was, yeah.
You can understand though. You can understand.
I can understand. Because it was so MCU. It was just, yeah.
As I said, I'll maintain this. I think the mistake is that they drew it out too much and they concentrate on the wrong things for the first episode. It's really important to grab your audience on the first, even on the second episode. The first and the second episode should really grab you. It's like when you write a script, right? I remember 20 years ago, they were saying that if you're not engaged in the first 20 pages, then you throw the script away if you're a script reader. Now they're saying if you're not engaged in the first 5 pages, throw the script away. Do you know what I mean? So, times have changed, and this is the thing. And I think they're trying to, I would maintain this again, they're trying to be too clever. They want you to see the humanity of Falcon. They want you to see the humanity of the Winter Soldier. But quite frankly, that humanity could come within the structure of what's going on. You don't have to, spread it thickly on the bread. Too much butter, mate. Too much butter. That's what I say they're doing. So, and that's the thing. And I think that's the mistake that people are making. They try to put too much of the politics of today into TV shows, where they should just leave it out and concentrate on what the actual thing is about and move it and try and give it a pace. So try not to lose your audience who have faith in the first episode. And, they're not thinking about the audience. They're thinking about what they can bring to the script, which is bollocks, really. It's all about the customer. It's all about the fan. You've got to service the fan. If you don't service the fan, they go away and they watch DC. Do you know what I mean? So This is the thing. I think the mistake they've made, to tell you the truth. But who knows? The second episode might rock my world. You never know.
on the same day as the Snyder Cut, but that's a whole other thing. Yes, yeah.
So, because I've just had this random thought, which I'll just throw out there, which is, obviously Sam makes this choice. You know, he doesn't feel worthy of the mantle of Captain America. He's going to hand the shield back. My thought is, did he it all enter his head to think, well, maybe I offer it to Bucky?
Yeah, that'd be great. In the comics, it was Bucky who was offered it, or he was the first Captain America, wasn't he?
Yeah, because actually at the end of Endgame, they had that kind of thing, didn't they? Where Bucky and Sam were stood there, and they it's actually Bucky who first spotted old Steve, old Cap, and he actually says, "Yeah, go ahead," doesn't he? But there was that thing about which one. I remember there was a lot of speculation about that as well. You know, which one was gonna take on the mantle, as it were.
I mean, he's got too much baggage to be like, the pure symbol of America. He's killed more. He's killed more Americans.
I can understand that,
and they're dealing with that.
It just suddenly struck me as like, that he kept this thing, and then he's like, no, I'm going to give it back, and there was no thought like,
But this is the problem with Hollywood these days. What they do is they take something that's great or something that is nice in an episode or a bit of the film, and then they completely destroy it. Han Solo walks away with Princess Leia happy, and then when you get to the next film, they're divorced, they've separated, they've had a kid, and blah blah blah. It's the same thing with this. I mean, Sam was happy to take the shield. Don't worry, I'll look after it, Cap. I'll make you proud, Cap. Next thing you know, he's not worthy. He's giving it back to the museum.
I don't know, but I wasn't surprised by that though, Ian. I wasn't surprised because it's not called Captain America and Bucky. It's called Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
So just the title of it seemed to be saying it's going to be about him either coming to terms with being Captain America, or it's going to be about this. That's going to be like the central question of it.
Yeah,
and then all the sort of echoing of like stuff that Cap did in the films with what Sam did in his action scene, and then and the whole starting off with him like hearing the dialogue with Steve, and that's the question. Do you guys think we will see old man Steve Rogers in this?
No,
series?
Because did he not die? I got the impression he died in this episode.
Did he though?
No, there wasn't.
I think isn't that the official cover story?
There was
fun
dialogue that he may be up in the moon or he's gone, but there's been no, as in my opinion, or at least what I saw again today and watching End of Endgame, is that he didn't just keel over and die on that bench. No, has there been any mention of his death? No, any funeral either. It was all Captain America, So Steve, because he came back as Steve Rogers, End of Endgame, he wasn't Captain America, and he hadn't been Captain America. I didn't get that impression.
I'm sorry, Graham. I just had this image of like old man Steve Rogers still in the Captain America gear, like wizened and kind of like it maybe wouldn't have been a good look.
But again, that's kind of an interesting thing here with where we're at with this is. This is obviously, slightly in the future where we're at now, isn't it? After the blip and everything, and there's been no. I think the general public, even though they know about Thanos and the snap and the Avengers winning and Tony Stark dying and all of this stuff, but I don't think anybody actually knows about the time travel, right? Because that's not been mentioned, and the fact that obviously Steve went back to return the stones and took his shield with him, didn't he, when he did that, and obviously had a completely different reality, a different timeline to get to be an old man Steve. And
they must have known about the time travel, Keith, because everybody came back, so they must have explained that the Avengers saved everyone, went back in time and reversed it. They must have let that out in the public, or not.
I don't know. There's been no sort of mention as to that, though, has there?
Nobody was having you didn't have Joe Public in either of the battles. So it was Wakanda in Infinity War, and then it was side of New York, wasn't it? Where the Avengers, the new Avengers building was. So no, the public wouldn't have been party to any of that. They would have seen they would have seen a big lot of fireworks and creatures in the sky at a distance. But no, they wouldn't have there wouldn't have been that direct.
No, but so what was the explanation of everybody reappearing? That's my question.
Well, Avengers got Thanos because don't forget they don't know that Thanos was then. It's not the same timeline where he went off to his planet. The event.
Right.
Marvel went off to that planet. He was killed there, so that wasn't Earth. So nobody, unless you're actually telling people that's happening, we as an audience are seeing that, but the general public of planet Earth within the MCU, then they're not seeing it at all, right? So,
all right.
But I think they would have. They could have said anything. They could have said they found Thanos, and they could have come up with any old story then.
Yeah,
I guess.
I think you all make really, really valid points, and I think you might be right that maybe they're relying on the showrunners and the team here are relying on the fact that people will tune in because it is Marvel. And maybe they didn't structure that as well. But talking of whether you want to continue watching or whatever, we've had a few people watching out there tonight. Unfortunately, we haven't had any comments this week. But if you do indeed find this after the live stream, please feel free, to let us know what you think. Are we being fair about this? Did you enjoy this episode? Are you going to be watching more of Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Are you going to be watching more of that moving forward? Let us know down in the comments, and we will obviously hopefully come back and talk more about this in episode 2 and the rest of the series moving on. But before that, guys, are there any sort of final things that you want to say before we go into contact details and all of that stuff?
Thank you, Clive, for introducing me to the phrase "crazy pants." I think from this evening, I'm going to slip that into many conversation and as many as appropriate, that I don't get fired, arrested, or killed. So thank you for that.
Have you got your crazy pants on, Clive?
Yeah, this has been excellent.
Well, yes.
to deconstruct. This episode, I still haven't shifted my opinion, although maybe I watered down a bit to that Captain America ending. I watched it again, ready for next Friday for episode 2. But no.
Well, it was a week. It came out on a week where there was a lot to watch, to be fair. So I'm sure we're talking about some of that stuff down the track.
It is, as I said, it is well shot, but I still think it suffers from the same thing the MCU suffered from when they were on Netflix, when they were doing Jessica Jones and Daredevil and Punisher. It seems like they put a lot of filler in those shows because they wanted to run a certain time, and this episode felt like there were fillers in there, which really they could have done shortcuts to the information that we needed to see to actually make the show move along. As I said, if you watch Jessica Jones, there's scenes in there that you just go, well, why is it in there? Because they try to make it longer than it was. But I guess this doesn't suffer much from those shows, but you can tell there are bits in there that you can really cut out, or you could reconstructed that bit to actually have a shortcut to actually show exactly what you're trying to say without dialogue. Do you know what I mean? Like do a Hitchcock or show something or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't. And I still think that they're still trying to push modern days politics into this show a bit, which I think is always a mistake. If you're not concentrating on the ball, if you're playing the game, if you're not trying to kick that ball into the net, you'll lose focus. And I'm hoping this show doesn't lose focus. That's my last word on it. Thank you.
Clive, any final word from you?
I mean, I do think that, that it's clear that there is going to be this, they're going to have things to say, and I'm fine with that as long as it's entertaining, and it's I will just, as a final thought, I will say that when you introduce a character, like as a big cheesy guy comes in, like stealing, Steve Rogers' legacy, and the first thing he does is wink at the camera, you know what sort of character that's going to be already.
Yeah.
you know he's going to be a right winker. That's all I'm saying.
Hey.
Yes.
All right.
Yep.
So, guys, if people want to find more of your work or what you're up to, are you reachable? Graham, what about you? Are you what are you working on right now?
I mostly live in the shadows. But yes, I am still working on redrafting first draft of a novel that I actually wrote as part of NaNoWriMo 2020, my first NaNoWriMo.
Congrats.
Thank you. No, it was a challenge which I met with aplomb. And so that is called Where the River Bends, modern day Western, based in the mountains of North Wales. A female character who tries to make sure that she can survive as a farmer, and also defend her farm and herself from greedy neighbours. So that's what I'm working on. As far as the socials go, I follow, and I do not have any tags yet, although I am looking into this Instagram malarkey. I do take photos of when I build Lego or when I walk the countryside and take and photographer. So I'm looking into this Instagram. Apparently it's new fandangle thing, so I'll see whether I create myself an account and share, but for the moment I'll stick to the shadows.
Fair enough. And Clive, what about you?
Well, if people want to check out my past work as a filmmaker, my short films, they can go to Vimeo and search for Clive Ashenden there, and they will find all my more recent works, and including Acceptance and Out of Hours, starring one Keith Isles in a key role. So,
well, briefly.
Well, spoilers.
Also, I'm wondering, particularly as we're talking about what they're calling the people who came back from the blip, is the Vanished on there, Clive, which we worked on? Is the Vanished on there? Because that was the name of that project, right?
The Vanished is on YouTube. I'm not sure if it is on
Is that
Vimeo.
about a cleaner thing?
Well, no, but funny enough, it was about a bunch of people that suddenly disappeared from the earth. Wasn't it? Essentially,
it was.
People.
It was a charity film we did for Seafarers UK.
Yeah. I thought that turned out really well. I was really happy with that piece of work. And as I said, it just makes me laugh when they call it the Vanished in MCU. I'm thinking we did it first. We did it first. Damn it!
This is true. This is true.
Excellent. So please check out Clive's work. What about you, Ian, Mega Geek? What have you got going on? I know you got loads. Come on.
Well, I've got a YouTube channel called Rebecca Gold, and Rebecca Gold is a web series that I wrote and directed and produced and swept the floor and all that stuff. It stars that man over there. That man over there. He's in it.
No.
Rebecca Gold, yeah. But on my channel I have the feature films that I've made as well. I made a horror film called Fallen Angels with Jeff Fahey and Michael Ironside, which was a lot of fun to shoot, but the film didn't do very well. So there you go. I got Bad Day with Claire Goose and Donna Eyre and Robbie G. And this man here, he's in it as well. And I have a film called The Killing Zone, which was my first movie, shot over 20 years ago on film, very low budget. £14,000 it cost us to make, actually, to put the whole thing together. Wow. It was a miracle that we actually shot it. There's the making of, there's stuff in there that will show you when we talk about it and stuff like that. So The Killing Zone was my very first movie. It was shot on Super 16. And I'm bringing out a new version though, which is better because I've got this AI program that actually upscales stuff. So I've upscaled it and I'm going to put it on my channel so that people can watch a better version of what's on my channel. So if you want to watch a couple of films, really good ones, then go to my channel. If you want to watch a web series, go to my channel. So there you go. Rebecca Gold. That's what my channel is.
I was going to say, Rebecca Gold's been doing very well on the festival circuit, right, Ian? It's actually won some awards. So
it's won 20 awards.
Congratulations.
20 awards. So not one for director, though, unfortunately. But I was nominated, but, you know, there you go. You know, Spielberg beat me, actually. So there you go. There you go.
And you can find more of my work if you go to YouTube and put in British Isles. That's EYLES, as in my last name. There's some short films that I made there. Obviously, if you're watching this now, you found the Home Media Minefield channel. Please, you know, do consider giving us a like, subscribing to the channel. I also do physical media reviews and unboxings and all sorts of things like that. So any comments, questions or whatever, put them down below. And you can also find us as a podcast on all good podcasting apps, which is LSWOT cast, as in Let's See What's Out There podcast. Basically that just leaves me to say thank you guys for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it. And thank you, the audience out there, for your time to watch this stuff. And we'll see you next time on the next Let's See What's Out There. Bye for now.
Bye.